Just, Matt, you sit down. You open your pack of 20 cards. They're all elks. One's foil.
And at the end of the foil is Oko.
It's Oko. Every pack. 19 elks and Oko. Whoops, all Okos.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, all elks.
This is, oh gosh. That steamrolled me. Hello everyone, welcome to the Command Valley podcast. I'm Griffin, joined here by
Landon.
And Peter is very annoyed with us because we're trying so hard to record, but I cannot take anything seriously for 2 seconds. Alright, so today for our episode of The Late Night Drive, we're going to be talking about the amazing news that came out recently from the Command Zone about all the new things that are coming out for Commander players in 2020. So I'm just going to go through the list of all of them, and we're just going to talk about like our hopes and fears and predictions and just overall things that we're excited for.
Get strapped in because there's a lot.
We're going to have a lot to talk about. So there's one for each quarter that's coming out. So I think the biggest change that's happening is that the Commander Dex, so Commander 2020, is going to be releasing the same time as Ikoria, which is going to be the April set, the spring set, and they're going to be releasing 5 Commander decks that are themed with the Ikoria theme. And then after that, we're going to be getting 2 Commander decks along with Zendikar Rising. And then after that, these 2 decks that are released with Zendikar Rising are not part of the Commander 2020, just to be clear. These are extra supplementary products that are coming out with Zendikar Rising. After Zendikar Rising, there's going to be the Commander Collection Green, which is going to be kind of like a signature spell book for Commander for a color. So this year they're doing green. So we're assuming that they're going to do more in the future. And then after that is going to be the biggest thing of the year. They're going to have what's called Commander Legends that's coming out in quarter 4, which is going to be a draftable Commander set with 20 card booster packs, a foil in each pack, 70 new legendary creatures with 2 legendary creatures per booster pack. And Gavin Verhey on the Command Zone said that this is the draft is going to be like nothing we've seen before. It'll feel like drafting the Commander deck.
Did they say 70 new legendary creatures or new legends?
New legendary creatures.
Okay, because I thought there were going to be some planeswalkers too that could be your commander.
That's right. Okay, new commanders. I'm sorry.
Okay,
that's correct. There are going to be some planeswalkers that they said on the stream that are going to be included.
Which is interesting.
Yeah,
we'll probably go into more detail for that though later in the show. But
so those are going to be everything that's happening in the next year for Commander. Super big. These are all in addition to all the other sets that are coming out, including just Zendikar, Theros in January, Ikoria, and Core 20. So super exciting. There's going to be so much to talk about next year. So let's just go ahead and just talk about like our hopes and fears. So starting with Commander 2020, what are your initial thoughts, Landon?
Ikoria. My initial thoughts, or
initial
just
thoughts.
What came to mind? I was super excited that I didn't have to wait another full year for new Commander decks.
We might never have to wait another year for Commander releases.
Yeah, interestingly enough, if you look at the release dates, it's almost every other month we get a new Commander product.
Yep.
So I was very excited. I think having the Commander decks follow the same theme as the standard is very welcoming for new people to the game, and for people that maybe haven't been playing very long. It will, and they can also use like those mechanics in the commanders, like the Ikoria decks are going to fit with the mechanics in standard, which I think is super good for new players that are wanting to play the game. And it's also really good for, people like us that have been playing Commander for a long time, and we have the habit of cracking a standard box every set. And it's great that we're going to get all these standard cards in the box that are going to interact well with the Commander precons. So it'll make upgrading the precons super simple and maybe a little bit more dynamic and straightforward. So those are my first initial thoughts off the top of my head.
I think that was a great point. I didn't even think about the introduction to standard players into Commander. That's a really good point. I did want to point out that in Commander 2020, there's going to be 71 new cards
that are independent of the standard set. So we're getting 71 new. So that averages out to like what, 15 cards about
20 cards per deck. Yeah. That's super exciting. We haven't had new cards like that in a while. And then we're going to have a lot of new reprints as well. As far as for me, for my first impressions, I was very happy that they're now releasing 5 Commander decks.
They're going back to releasing
releasing 5 Commander decks. Because it is I think I know why they released 4 at a time because Commander is a 4-player game. However, every time that a Commander set would come out or a Commander product, I was like, oh, I just wish I could have one more. So that's super exciting. That's even more goodies for us Commander players. I would really like for these commanders that are coming out from Ikoria to be still very strong. And we talked about this in the previous episode about Commander 19, how those mechanics were a little bit underrepresented and felt a little bit subpar to the Commander precons that we've had before. So I'm hoping that we're going to step back up a little bit and have good mechanics and good themes around the deck in colors that are not as representative as others. So that's what I'm hoping for. Len, what was the colors that we were talking about?
Teamer.
So
Teamer. Red, blue, green. That is one of the most underrepresented color combinations for legendary creatures. And I should have gotten this down in writing, but before Commander 2019, I had some guesses on which colors they were going to choose, because if you go on EDH Rec, or if you just look at how many legendary creatures there are per color combination, red, black, blue, black, green, red, white, green, and what was the fourth one? Red, white, blue. Those 4 color combinations had the fewest number of possible choices for legendary creatures out of all of the legendary creature options. And Wizards of the Coast tends to look at that and print options for people that want to play those colors, because let's say you have a whole bunch of red and green and red and blue cards in your collection because you just bought a whole bunch of cards from the Ravnica sets, and you don't particularly like any of the red, blue, green legendary creatures because a lot of them were from Khans of Tarkir, and maybe those Kaladesh cards don't work very well with those Khans of Tarkir. So it'd be really cool if they came out with a new legendary creature in that color identity where you can mash all those cards together and make a deck. So my predictions for Ikoria, and so this is kind of the first time that we've ever had the Commander deck follow standard.
Right.
So they might not do this because Teamer, like I said, is one of the most underrepresented, along with Mardu, Abzan, and for the 3 colors, it's Teamer, Mardu, and Abzan. So maybe Ikoria will bring back 3 colors, but I don't know if they're going to bring 3 colors back into standard.
Right.
So maybe the commanders will be 3 colors, but there won't be a 3-color theme in standard. Who knows? Because they kind of did that with Brawl.
Yeah.
So they did, Jund, Mardu.
They did three colors. I've seen a lot of speculation online. We know that, there's a very small chance that there's going to be 4-color decks, which is what I was hoping for before we knew that there was going to be 5 commander decks.
I didn't want 4 colors.
Okay.
And well, the reason is they have shown in the past 2 to 3 commander precons that they are not willing to print a good mana base. For some reason, they are unwilling to print any good lands in these commander sets. And how hard is it? How hard is it to run 4 colors on a budget mana base?
All the guild gates.
I mean, it's possible, right? I mean, there are lots of people that do it. It's just
you don't got anything against guild gates, right?
I got nothing against.
I still play Guild Gates.
He still plays Guild Gates.
I'm not going to buy all the shock lands for every single deck.
It's way too expensive.
Yeah,
right?
it's very expensive. So the most likely thing that's going to happen is that there's going to be 2 color pairings for Ikoria. That seems like what it's going to be since we had 3 colors, except for the Madness deck, which was Rakdos.
Well, they had done that the year before too.
And
they had done with the Planeswalkers, 3 Planeswalkers that are 3 color, and then 1 2-color deck.
And then Brawl was also 3 colors. So I think there's a good chance that there's going to be 2-colored commander decks. If it's 3 colors, great. I hope that there's 3 colors because there are colors that are unrepresented or underrepresented.
Mm-hmm.
And but I wouldn't be mad if it was 2 colors. I think also a lot of 2-color decks need some Boros needs some help in certain areas.
What was that?
Boros.
Boros.
Boros needs some help, Wizards. Please print better commanders. Okay. So yeah, I'm really excited for C20 that comes out with Ikoria. I also am very happy that I don't have to wait another year.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
My wallet isn't happy.
Oh, for sure.
My bank account is already flinching.
So let's talk about reprints and things like that.
Yeah.
So Wizards has released the Commander decks, and as of C19, those decks were 40 a piece.
42.
It was 42,
42
which was up from C19. I'm sorry, C18 that was 35, and before that was 30.
I remember picking up. I can't remember which. I think it was the Inala Wizard deck for $30.
Yeah, it's $30
at
in
my game store.
In C17.
And I got tons of good stuff in that deck. I mean, Cass at that point in time was $10. Some good mana bases. I mean, yeah, I felt like that was a pretty good deal. I picked up in C18. I think I picked up all but the Jund one. I picked up Aminatu, Saheeli, and Estrid, and there was like nothing in any of those.
Yeah, there was a lot of complaints for C18 about reprints, and they granted to Wizards, they did do better in C19, even though
not really. I mean, there was Seaborn Muse, Lightning
better.
Greaves. I don't know if it was that much. Well, I think that the cards that had come out of C19 went up, and your expected value was more than C18. I think C19 had more original C19 cards that were better than C18. I think the only C18 card that ever broke $20, like it was unique to C18, was Yuriko, and she has since dropped. So and Dockside Extortionist and Crick from C19 both are like more than $17.
Right, I'm not saying like there was valuable reprints, but there was a couple of cards that were in the $5-6 range that went down to under $2 or under $1. Geth, it was Seedborn Muse, there was
Lightning Greaves.
Lightning Greaves never goes down, I swear. It will always remain up there. And then Momentuous Fall, which was one of the green ones that was actually getting up to $4 or $5. So yeah, there was some good reprints that went down in price, not the ones that were really wanted necessarily. And yeah, the land base they did print am I remembering right? There was one Shockland in each deck.
That was Brawl.
Okay.
Brawl. There weren't any Shocklands.
Okay.
In fact, besides the Exotic Orchards, Command Towers, I don't think they printed any lands that came into the battlefield untapped.
Yes, it was
there was Prairie Stream.
The
there was the ping lands. Okay, yeah, there were the ping lands.
Filter, the weird filter ones were for one you tap in, it produces 2.
No, those weren't in this one. Cascade Bluffs, Fetid Heath.
No, not those ones.
Not the Lorwyn ones.
Yeah, it's not the Lorwyn.
Oh, like the Darkwater Catacombs.
Yes.
Yeah. Those ones aren't that. They don't produce any mana, actually.
Yeah, they don't net you any mana.
They don't tap for any mana. You have to pay a mana.
Yeah, you have to pay a mana to get 2 colors.
As opposed to the ones from Lorwyn that actually could tap for a mana. Like they could tap for a colorless, or you could put a hybrid into them and you would get, any combination of what the hybrid was.
They could put those in those decks. I don't know why.
Some of them are expensive because they see play in other formats.
Well, they all see play.
The blue-black one is in a lot of decks in Modern, but what I don't understand is why they haven't printed the rest of the cycle that was from Battle Bond. That the Battle Bond lands that came into play untapped if you have 2 or more opponents.
Yeah.
That just seems like an auto-include.
In every Commander deck for the rest of forever.
And no other format wants those cards. No other format wants a land that enters tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents. I mean, by definition.
Luxury Suite is pretty
Luxury
up
Suite, Morphic Pool is the most expensive one. I also think that they could print Shocklands that enter tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents. I mean, I don't see why that would be a problem. I think that'd be a good idea. But also there were like questions about why they didn't print, like for example in the Naya Populate deck, why they didn't put Parallel Lives in there.
Right.
Or
Anointed Procession.
Yeah. And they didn't put any signets in any of the decks. And there were just like cards that they missed that was like, did they really like look at these decks and decide, hey, we're building this? Like, it's like, how much effort did they really put into these? And there are cards like, I know a lot of people have talked about this, a lot of other content creators, like Oracle of Moldiah, Cyclonic Rift, Ristic Study. These are cards that don't see play in other formats. And that's one of the main fears I think that people have about putting expensive chase cards in Commander decks, is because if they put in a modern chase card or a standard chase card, Commander players are never going to be able to get their hands on that. The supply will be way too low for the demand, and it's just going to make another price spike.
Right.
But if they put cards in there that don't see play in other formats, I don't see what the harm could do. And maybe they're looking at like the longevity of the reprint equity, so they don't want to print all the expensive cards in Commander X set because they want to print these cards in Modern Masters, or they want to print these so they can sell more packs. But to me, that doesn't make sense. So
right, yeah, and that is actually my debate about. I don't agree with Wizards printing fetch lands into Commander decks. I know a couple of content creators have argued for this. I disagree with it just because, like you said, the cards that are Commander chase cards should be put in the Commander decks. If you put a card like fetch lands into
actual fetch lands,
actual fetch lands,
not the ones that I was talking about that would enter the battlefield untapped if you control 2 or more.
Not those new ones. But if we actually printed the fetch lands into Commander decks, then people from Modern, people from Legacy, people from all sorts of different backgrounds would want to attain these decks simply for the fetch lands, and the people who actually need the Commander decks, which are mostly for new players, will not get them. So I think summing it up, I think our hopes for Commander 2020 is to have better mana bases, and
better reprints,
more popular reprints.
Well,
ones that we're asking for.
Something else that's happened, like in Magic news, that has also made me worried about Commander is just the release of Pioneer. I was watching just market prices. I follow some people on Instagram that post market prices. And once Pioneer was announced, the next day, there were like over 30 or 40 card spikes. And I was looking at all those cards, and I'm like, I have a lot of these cards in Commander decks just because I've been playing Standard since Theros. I've got a lot of these just bulk rares that all of a sudden have spiked in price. And a lot of these also, like the buddy lands, the lands that enter if you control a certain land in your hand, you have to reveal it. Those cards are going up in price too, and those were the budget lands that I was putting in my decks because... Anyway, so I guess my greatest fear is just the accessibility of these decks and the accessibility of budget cards for people that are playing Commander on a budget.
Right. The budget, it's... The budget arena for players is, and this is a topic for another episode, but what we've seen with the release of Pioneer and not getting needed reprints is that the budget Commander arena is getting
like
smaller.
the price of entry to get into Commander is getting more and more expensive. But one thing I like about Commander is you can say to your friends, hey, we should all just build budget decks, right? And you don't have to be playing the best of the best cards, and you don't have to have a super tuned tier 1 absolutely cutthroat.
Yeah, we don't need those.
We don't need those, as I say, those. Holding my secret deck.
I can't build anything else.
But honestly, like you don't need that to have fun with the format. And I think that's why we like Commander so much, is because the card pool is so large, and because there are so many different commanders out there and so many different strategies that are so niche that have like already a small variety of cards to fit in that strategy. You can always find a budget deck to play, and that's why Commander's so great. But I'm afraid that they're going to print some cards that just break things that are going to be very, very, very expensive. And I know some other content creators have also talked about the fear of the power creep, that the more Commander products that they're going to be releasing every year, the more they're going to have to outdo the product before that one, because they want to keep selling more. And I'm afraid that they're going to print Commanders that are just catch-all, like, you could be playing this Commander, but you probably should be playing this one. Like, for example, with Tulane, he's the 2 in a Bant color.
From Brawl.
So green, blue, white. Yeah, from Brawl. He is, like, literally Bant's best commander. And if you're wanting to play a Bant strategy, like, Bant wants to play creatures, they want to play lands, it's like, you have to find a very, very, very good reason to not be playing Tulane. And that's, I think, kind of going back to like how Wizards of the Coast will ban cards that homogenize the meta. That's like, everybody's playing this card. You either tech against it, like you build a deck to fight against this deck, or you lose. I think that kind of kills the spirit of Commander. Kills the spirit of, ingenuity and creativity when you basically have one option to play, because that's the best, version of that Commander.
Right.
Also, like Arcane Signet. Arcane Signet just kind of pushes out a lot of other mana rocks, because why not play Arcane Signet? Like, you have to find a good reason to not play Arcane Signet. So that's one less card that you can put in, like, that's a card spot that takes a card spot.
Right, yeah, we've talked about this.
Like
every time you build a card that it goes in every single deck, things like Soul Rings,
Lightning Greaves
for most decks, and now Arcane Signet. What is essentially happening is that instead of building an 100 card deck or 99 including Commander, you're now building a 96 card deck with the Commander, Lightning Greaves, Swiftfoot Boots, the Signets, and so it's hard to resist doing these cards because people like them and they're going to be sold and they're going to make money. But we have to be very wary of these cards because they can easily make the format go from 100 card singleton to 80 card singleton to 50 card singleton. And this happens and has been happening for the past couple years. So I think my biggest fear for Ikoria, for the Commander decks, is that they raise the price again. I am very worried that they're going to raise the prices again, and I am worried that they are going to put reprints in here that are not Commander chases. They're just every Magic player want chases. So things like fetch lands, that they're going to sell those out, and then Wizards are probably going to say something like, "Oh, this is the only print that we're doing."
So accessibility.
Yeah, so accessibility.
Accessibility.
And that they print dud mana bases, because for example, in Throne of Eldraine, there is a land called Fabled Passage that that is essentially evolving wild, but the land can come in untapped when you get it if you control four or more lands. That card is now $20, and that's not just because of standard. That is also because of Pioneer. That's because of Commander. Yeah. It's a good land, and that should not be $20. That should never have been $20. This should have been a budget land that people could put into their decks, and it's a real shame about how high it's gone. And this is just the example that I can use to illustrate that we really need better lands in the Commander decks and reprints of lands such as the 4-player, the multiplayer lands, the ping lands, the check lands, the buddy lands, like things like that are really necessary for Commander decks nowadays.
I don't think that there's any problem with putting auto-include lands. I think the mana base is what you should, like, it should be very simple to build your mana base, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, I think that if you can get a good mana base, you can kind of build your deck however you want, but if you have a bad mana base, you're really restricted to a lot of things. So, yeah, I think mana bases are okay if you have auto-includes, like Command Tower, Exotic Orchard.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it would hurt to print the Shocklands. I would like for them to print the Shocklands.
Yeah, I think the Shocklands are probably okay.
You think they're okay?
Yeah.
There could be other lands, but
it depends, though, because let's say you're building a 3-color, like they print the 3-color deck, are they going to put all 3 shocks in there?
No, and in the Brawl decks, they had 3 colors and they only put one. I don't think I would like for them to have printed more, but I get why they didn't.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be mad if it was one shock land, and I just want them to bring the prices of these lands that Commander players want to go. I want them to go down. I feel like there are too many people that walk into a game and play Guildgate Go. Like, it's a very popular Commander turn 1, and other people are playing. They're already playing things like Modern and now Pioneer, and they already have the lands. I would like for that to be something that's more accessible to players.
Super quick question. Do you remember why they justified the price increase for the Commander products? What did they say? What was the reasoning for that?
I can't remember what the reasoning for. I remember reading the article.
I think they said it was to allow for more powerful decks.
I think I think you're onto something. It was about reprints. They wanted to put more reprints in it, and so they were increasing the price. And it was
how does that justify it, though?
No, it doesn't.
That makes no sense.
They should never raise the price on them.
Well, how does I don't see the correlation between them raising the price and putting better reprints in the deck. I don't see how those 2 points are correlated.
Right. And now they've just gotten rid of that because they understand that, we want to raise the price, but we don't want people to get mad at us for it. So we're just going to say there's no MSRP, and then stores will just charge the price that we want them to because that's what they need to charge. But they can't get mad at us. They get mad at the stores. I was extremely against that decision for no MSRP. I think that was a bad PR move. But
that goes back to another one of my fears. I have very little trust or faith left in the Wizards design team. I'm worried. I'm really worried because we haven't had any products that any Commander decks that I was really interested in a while. I was very interested in when I found out that it was going to be a flashback deck in C19, and then I got the flashback deck and I was like, yeah, this isn't
right. We talked about Savine, and we try not to be too pessimistic about the Commanders and give them a chance because obviously, again, they're made for new players, but Savine was.
I mean, it's just, and to cut Wizards some slack is they're trying to please too many people with one product. So I'm very happy that they're branching out this year because I think they understood that if they are trying to please too many people, they're going to please nobody and more people are going to be upset. So I'm excited that they're coming out with products for a more diverse crowd of Commander players. I just hope that they are competent enough to follow through on their promise and not break the format because all things considered, I feel like Commander's in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, so. It's in a very delicate spot is how I feel. It's in a good spot, but it could easily change. Let's move on now to the next release. Yeah, let's go ahead and move to Zendikar Rising. I don't want to really spend too much time on Zendikar Rising as far as the Commander decks go, because the expectations for Core 2020 are the same as these Commander decks. I want to illustrate the point again how nice, or I want to illustrate the point again about how good of a move it was to release these Commander decks along with the standard sets that are being released. I think that was an excellent move to add new players in and to get new players interested in Commander. But yeah, I think all the expectations that we had on Core or Commander 2020 will rest on
pretty much apply to Zendikar.
Any Commander deck that Wizard releases.
It'll be really interesting to make a podcast about this after this year's over, and just kind of go back and see how right we were, how wrong we were, and
what did they do?
Yeah, what did they do? Just
did they screw up?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to be clear, the Commander decks that are being released with Zendikar Rising, there's 2 that are going to be released with Zendikar Rising. That's outside of Commander 2020, and there's also going to be 2 released with Commander Legends. Before we get to Commander Legends, because that's what everybody wants to talk about, let's just quickly, the Commander Collection Green, just to recap, that is 8 cards that are reprints, popular reprints from Commander history in green, with new art. There's going to be 2 different kinds. There's going to be a full foil one that you can buy and a non-foil one that you can buy. So there's a little bit of...
So it's going to be like Sylvan Library, Food Chain, Survival of the Fittest.
Yeah, if it is that, I'll slap my knee and laugh for days.
No, it's going to be like Secura Tribe Elder, Cultivate, Kadama's Reach,
and it's going to be
Elvish Mystic.
What? This is what you guys wanted, right?
This is green.
You guys all play these cards.
Birds of Paradise is too strong.
We're going to ban it. Okay, that kind of illustrates our fears about Commander Collection Green.
That's how we think Wizards of the Coast thinks.
Because they were actually released on the video. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and watch the Command Zone video that just goes over the release. They actually showed art of one of the cards in it that featured Yi-san casting a spell, and people were trying to see what it was. And the theory was that it was Court of Calling, which is a $9 card, and that's good, but I want it to be Azusa. I want it to be the cards that are at $50 and $40. Like, this is what these things should be for, right? These should be like, okay, well, we can't release these in a Commander product because it's too expensive. So boom, let's put it into this collection.
Why can't they do that?
I think they won't do that simply because the price of these products won't justify how expensive the reprints are.
But what drives price?
Need.
Supply and demand.
Yeah, supply and demand.
So don't they have a way of printing cards? You would think a company that prints Magic cards would have a way of printing Magic cards, right? You would think. Because all they have to do is go to that computer and say, hey, instead of making, let's say 3,000 Commander decks, make 10,000, right?
Right.
It's just, to me, there's got to be another reason. I don't think that reason holds up to logic.
Right, I agree.
But I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something.
So what I don't have to have all the super expensive cards, but things that I would like to see
Oracle
are things...
Moldiah?
Oracle of Moldiah. I would like to see World Eater. I'd like to see Sylvan Library. I would like to see Azusa. These cards that are well over $30.
Cards that I've never been able to play in my green decks because I've never been able to afford them. Craterhoof Behemoth.
Yeah, he's at $30 to $40. I mean, these are cards that desperately need reprints, and I feel like...
Well, these are cards that are turning players off to decks that they would build because they can't afford them. And I think that's kind of dumb. But at the same time, I think it's also kind of cool that people will find ways around it to make their decks work. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Maybe it would be a bad thing that they reprint Craterhoof Behemoth and it's like a $2 card and it's in every single green deck. I don't know.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think just the point of these green collections is that there is needed reprints. And they don't have to include all 8 of $30 cards that need reprints. But why not
maybe
include
one
or two? And like, sure, if you have some special art for a Cultivate, make it just one. Please.
What's the matter? Cultivate's a good card.
It's the best. It should be banned. It should be banned. Probably on the level of Crick, honestly. It's probably competitive.
Can you bleep that out? Cultivate.
Cultivate is now banned. We have just decided.
To me, it seems really silly to reprint cards that aren't very expensive in these premier packs because it's like I could just go buy that card from my store for like 30 cents. Yeah. It's like, thank you for putting it in there, but I can just go buy that. It's Absolutely. I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
So yeah, our hopes for Commander Collection Green is that it's a place that you can put needed reprints for green. Cards that should not be as expensive as they are. Put 1 or 2 of those in there and maybe a few duds and maybe a few $10 reprints. And
they're going to do the same for blue and black
and they're going to, assuming that they're going to continue with this, seeing how well this does, they'll continue with it. But I think green was a good place to start. There's a lot of good ones to choose from. But I think the worst thing that could happen would be 8 cards that are not over $5 or not over $3, and there's one that reaches $6, and then when it releases, it goes to $3, even with the alternate art that they're gonna do.
I think the worst thing they do is what they did with Throne of Eldraine in the collector's boxes. They charge an astronomical amount for it. There's not any value in it, and people buy it. Yeah. I think that's the worst thing that could happen with every single one of these products that's coming out this year is the price is astronomical, and it keeps getting bigger. They don't deliver on any of their promises that it's going to be worth as much as they say it is, and people will still buy it. That's what's annoying to me. That's what I don't want to happen, but
I don't want that to happen either. So yeah, obviously there's got to be a balance between making things too expensive because you want these to be good reprints, but you don't want them like every card to be a $30 reprint, and now all of a sudden the product is $100 for 8 cards. But at least print 1 or 2 things that are needed: Worldly Tutor, Sylvan Library, Oracle Moldiad, things that are just we need those reprints really bad. All right, guys, let's move on to me, the most exciting part of next year, quarter 4, which is going to be Commander Legends. This is probably the thing that calls out to me the most. I love the drafting experience, and I love Commander, and putting those things and morphing them together seems like an awesome way for people to be able to get the Commander reprints that they need, and also have a fun time doing it. So again, to recount the stats of it, there's going to be 70 new commanders, whether it be legendary creatures or planeswalkers, that can be used as a commander, and there's going to be two commanders or legendary creatures in each pack, 1 foil, and it's going to be 20 card packs that you can draft. And they when on Wizards website, where the article that was posted, I mentioned that the draft experience is going to be a little bit different, where at the end it's going to feel more like you're building a commander deck. So
do you think it's going to be 3 packs? That's 60 cards.
It is 60 cards. So I don't know exactly how it's going to go. It's possible that they're going to change it up a lot. So for instance, say that you take a legendary creature from the first pack, and then you have to just take colors with that legendary creature. I don't know exactly how it's going to go.
That's what I'm worried about, is because if it's 3 booster packs, 20 cards per pack, that's 60 cards, that's 40 lands. In a normal commander deck, I run like 35 to 37 lands, so that only gives you... And that's if you use every single card that you pull.
I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think they said it's going to feel like a commander deck, so maybe it's going to be something closer to 60 cards. Even then, I don't think... I think keeping it at 40 is probably fine. But I think this is... my first thoughts about Commander Legends is that this is an amazing way to be able to put reprints that are needed in a product that is outside of Commander 2020, that... we desperately need these reprints, and this is a great place to put them. What are your thoughts, Landon?
I'm worried that people are going to do like what they did with Conspiracy, or what they did with the Brawl Commander decks, where they're just going to buy the packs and just crack them. Like, nobody's actually going to be playing it. They're just going to be buying it, because that's exactly what happened with Brawl, with the Brawl precons. Like, nobody actually was going to build a Brawl deck with those. They put Arcane Signet in there. Everybody bought it just so they could take it apart and put it in Commander. And with Conspiracy, like, and I know a lot of people that just buy the Conspiracy packs to get Selvala, or to get, the cards in Conspiracy that are good for Commander. So I'm worried that people are just going to be cracking these Commander Legends boxes to get the Commander cards that they want. And it's going to be so expensive. It's going to be crazy expensive to draft, because I could see Wizards charging a ridiculous amount booster packs because they're 20 cards and they have a guaranteed foil.
Yeah, that's what we're worried about. The thing that I do not want from the set is for the packs to be
over $15.
I don't want them to be over $10. That, I think...
Well, especially if they're going to give us like 4 booster packs per draft.
Yeah, I don't want this to feel like Ultimate Masters.
I think it will.
I think it's probably going to feel like that, and I know it's probably going to be more expensive than a regular just standard booster pack, and that's fine because we need those reprints. But I just don't want it to be on the par of a master set. And I know this is kind of like Commander Masters in a way. With MSRP being gone, there is a very good chance that these packs are going to be collector's booster priced packs, and that's the farthest thing that I want from this. I really want Commander Legends to be an affordable way to be able to get new commanders and new fun cards and reprints that we need. So yeah, that's something I'm not looking forward to, is how that all plays out.
What I'm looking forward to the most is just 70 new legends. I am super excited for them to hopefully print commanders in color identities that only have one strategy. Like, for example, white-blue decks, Azorius decks tend to be Staxy/Control-y, and it'd be super cool to get some white-blue commanders that aren't that. Right. Or like Boros. I mean, we did good with Feather.
Wizards, print better Boros commanders.
Honestly, though, like, and I've talked about this before, how Ravnica, all 3 Ravnica sets kind of, they haven't ruined 2-color pairings, but because red-white in all the Theros was the aggro color, red-white was just doomed for Commander. And I think what they did with Feather was super cool because they broke the mold on what a Boros Commander was. So I hope that, I guess if I were to sum it up, I hope they break the mold with color identities. I hope they introduce a white-blue Commander deck, or a Commander that isn't Control and isn't Stacks, is maybe aggro, or is, Spellslinger or something. So I'm looking forward to what they do. I'm looking forward to that.
70 new legends. That is just... That I can't fathom that. 10 new legends is exciting for me, and this is 70.
Yeah. Think about Legacy. Are all these cards are these all going to be legal in Legacy?
I don't know. That's a good question. I guess we'll figure that out as time goes on. The thing that I'm a little bit concerned about, and I trust Wizards to a point, and who knows what that point is. That may be a very small point. But the thing, I could see this happening, and I just want to bring this into light because this is something I really want Wizards to watch out for and take extra care into not letting this happen. With 70 new commanders, I guarantee there is going to be 1 or 2 that will break a certain strategy and will get banned shortly afterwards. And that's why that's just 1. At least 1. That's my theory, is that there's going to be at least 1 and strategies that are going to be shut down, because 70 new legendaries, you got to watch out, and you can't make these super dud commanders, but you don't want to make these like top like above top tier.
Basically what we have to look out for is any commander that costs less than 4 mana.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, like, all the most broken commanders in CDH, I play some CDH, and anything that costs less than 4 usually is the threshold for that. So if they print like a 3 mana commander that has some type of mana advantage or card engine, that card will probably get broken.
Right.
Like Selvala, or another super good example is Urza.
Right.
Or commanders like that just scream break me.
Yeah, so my prediction is there's going to be at least 1, maybe a couple of those. And I don't think it's going to be intentional. I think when you're making 70 new commanders,
some are going to slip through the cracks.
Some kind of strategy is going to slip through the cracks, and some very clever deck builder is going to find it, and then soon it's going to be one of the strongest decks that there ever was.
Or imagine this, they print a 3-mana Planeswalker that enters with 4 loyalty and has a +2 and has a removal ability that's a +1. Could you imagine if they did that and they print him in Standard and you can cast him on turn 2 if you get this bird that taps for a mana? Could you imagine that? If they were, let's say, like, hypothetically, they were dumb enough to print that type of Planeswalker, they would have to print removal for it, right? Right.
You know what would be really stupid?
They would give red a card that could do like 4 damage to it, maybe 5. They'd have to do that, right?
They'd have to, but you know what they would do?
What would they do?
Obviously, if they printed that, they would probably print something that's 1 mana that protects it from all that removal that's in Standard, right?
Oh, they'd have to, right? Yeah, absolutely. A 1 mana instant.
There's no way.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, for example, Oko is a great example of Wizards, you didn't watch out as much as you should have.
Yeah, that's...
At all. With a card that has broken the format more, as far as Standard goes, that has broken Standard more than it has in a long time.
The meta that I like this is the most homogenous meta I've ever seen, where like everybody is playing Oko. So.
Right. All right. Well, yeah, those are our thoughts about Commander Legends. It's super exciting. There's a lot of things that Wizards can do right with this. Print reprints, print better lands. There's a lot of things that Wizards could do wrong by printing cards that are going to break the format. Not even Commanders, just extra cards that break an already made deck.
Cards that are too pushed, right? They're obviously trying to make this card.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's where they get in trouble, is when they push things and they overlook things on the pushed card.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is a great way of making decks that are monocolored more viable. This is a way of making unrepresented colors more viable. So there's a lot of hopes and expectations for Commander Legends, other than that just being super fun to draft, which I really hope is the case.
If I was Wizards, I would sit down and I would look at the like underrepresented color combinations in in Commander.
That's a good idea.
I would look at the going back to the Teamer one, or let's go back to the Madness one, the red-black one. There were Madness cards in blue. I don't know why they didn't make Anya 3-color to incorporate blue Madness cards, because Madness is already a really underrepresented mechanic, and why you wouldn't want to have access to the full card pool for Madness.
I disagree. I think if you added blue, Anya is already almost top tier. If you added blue, again, 3-color Planeswalker that has haste, that you can start the chain rolling as soon as she comes out. I mean, you see the World Gorger Dragon combo with Anya. Imagine what kind of combos you have in blue.
None that you wouldn't already have access to. I mean, you would still play, but that's if you wanted to. What if you don't want to play? Because the difference between Commander and Standard is you can play Commander casually, and there is no competitive league for Commander, but in Standard, I mean, people are literally playing this as a livelihood in some cases. So it's just, why would you not print all of the possibilities? I don't know. Anyways, I would sit down, I would look at that, and I would look at those mechanics, like in a Teamer deck or a Teamer Commander. What strategies do you have in Teamer that are underrepresented that you could then put together, and what mechanics could you use? And then if you do it that way, I think you will probably avoid super broken things if you're looking like that objectively. But
yeah, and I think a way to look out for and stop things from being overpowered is, like Len was saying, print strategies that are new, and print card for strategies that are new, such as like an aggro Azorius, or more control variants of Boros, or things like that. Things that are not viable at all, and we start making it viable. So there's new strategies, because that's what Commander builders really want.
They kind of did that with Firesong and Sunspeaker.
They did, and Firesong and Sunspeaker was good.
They costed 6 mana. It was
mana.
Way too much to play them, and they get removed once, and you're screwed.
And Feather, I think, was one of the best commanders that has been built for a color that needed it in a long time. And I'm not saying that's all good. Boros needs help.
Also, a cool thing about Feather is it turned a lot of cards that never would be played in Commander all of a sudden viable in Feather. So
that is exactly what we want.
It opened up like a whole slew of cards that were never viable in Commander. So and maybe that's what they go for, is they look at, okay, what cards are in white and blue right now that do not see play in white blue decks?
Right.
Why do these cards not see play? Oh, because there's no Commander that could really use these cards. Okay, well, how can we print a Commander that uses these cards but not in a broken way?
Right.
Because I don't think Feather's broken.
And that is, when I first look at a Commander, the thing that excites me the absolute most is a strategy that I have never seen before. So if you guys have seen the deck tech that came out, Brian was a Boros Commander that I found, and you have not seen any strategy along those lines, and it was absolutely incredibly fun to build, and it's fun to play just because it's a Commander that has a strategy that you don't really see, like steal spells.
Well, your opponent sits down with Brian, you're like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Like, okay, sure.
That deck was ultimately cheap because steal spells and threaten spells are not expensive. They're 20 cents. And it's a super fun deck that can sit at a table with high power decks.
So basically, I think what we're saying is we want decks that rely a little bit more heavily on the Commander. Because my CDH deck is Kess. A lot of times I don't even cast Kess. I mean, there are games that I will win and I didn't even cast my Commander. And my Kess deck looks very similar to every other Grixis Storm CDH deck. And I like that. That's fine. But when you're looking at more casual decks, like Brian and Atempsis, I mean, those strategies rely heavily on the Commander. And I think that's in the spirit of Commander, is having your deck rely a lot on your Commander.
You want to win kind of along the lines
with your Commander. So I think if they print strategies that rely heavily on the Commander, that's not super broken because there's so much removal in Commander. I mean, if you lose to a deck that relies super heavily on the Commander and you look at your deck and you're not playing any removal, I mean, that's kind of your fault for not playing any removal in your deck.
Yeah, of course you want to be able to win without, like Brian, Atempsis is a little bit different because
that's a specific. You have to win. That's your only choice. But I think if they stay very close to like Feather, we keep going back to Feather, but the Feather deck, literally you need Feather. All those cards, those 1 mana cantrip effects, they get way better with Feather. So
yeah, you can't. There's nothing to do without Feather. But yeah, so
I wouldn't be opposed to that. To new legends that revolve around strategies that revolve heavily around the Commander.
But if the Commander has been removed, you still have set up your board enough or set up a strategy enough that you can still win. Because I do agree that having everything, there's nothing more frustrating than building a deck around a Commander and you sit at a table with people who are playing removal with spells,
get locked out of it,
and they kill it 3 times and you're not drawing lines. It's like, well, I can't win now. And that happens a lot. So there's a balance between having the commander of your deck lead the deck, and you can win with it, but if it gets removed enough, you can still win outside of it, but not to the point that you don't even play the commander. Because Spirit of Commander, we want to have this legendary creature lead our deck with that strategy.
Cool. I think that's
about it, guys. We've talked about everything that's coming out next year. A super big year for Commander, so make sure that you keep up to date with the Command Valley. And we'll be releasing tons of new stuff, tons of gameplays revolved around these Commander decks, and we'll be so busy during Commander Legends. So stay up to date with us for that. Other than that, thanks for joining again. Thanks for letting us spiel about all the new fun things that are going on.
Let us know in the comments what your hopes are and what your fears are for all the Commander products coming out.
Absolutely.
We'd love to hear from you guys. So
other than that, you guys have a great week and stay tuned. See you guys.